I understand the feeling. The feeling is so deep inside your chest, in your body. I get it in my chest, I get it in my arms, I get it in my legs, and I get this feeling of just, I cannot do this. And I thought, I don't really want to speak to anyone today. I don't want to speak to anyone. I don't want to speak to anyone. I'm not going to do it. You know what? Today's fine. I don't need to do that. When you start to feel those thoughts, this is what I want you to do, and this is the video that I want you to come and watch. If you feel like if you weren't anxious, you would want to speak right now, then speak. Anxiety cannot tell the future. It's not a fortune teller. It's just some negative voice in your head, and sometimes it happens to be right and sometimes it happens to be wrong. Welcome to Waves Unleashed, and I'm about to unleash some waves on you. Hello, my angels. Hello, my angels. Today we're going to be talking about confidence. Confidence when talking to new people specifically, because I understand you. I know it might not seem like I do, because I can come up online, talk, I can be very confident holding myself. You know what? I am quite confident when it comes to speaking to people in public, but I have not always been this way. I have faked it until I made it, and there are times when I still have to fake it until I make it. I do have anxiety sometimes, and I think it's very human. People like to say people are extroverts or introverts, which is true to an extent, but I think there are a lot of us that can just kind of jump between the two. Sometimes I'm very extroverted, other times I feel very inwards, and I don't really know how to, present myself to people. I don't know how to show up and feel confident, and this is where this type of video comes into play. This is the advice that I always give myself when I start to feel like I'm overthinking, giving myself self-doubting thoughts. That's just not what we do here. When you start to feel those thoughts, this is what I want you to do, and this is the video that I want you to come and watch, to remind yourself exactly what you need to do to get over that sort of feeling of, oh, I can't speak to people, because yes, you can. Let me tell you a little story. Okay, let's get right into the video. So I'm going to tell you a story. Recently, I went to an event. I'm a nutritionist. I have a degree in nutrition and health, and I'm trying to grow my freelance business as a nutritionist, and that means going out and talking to new people, networking. I went to an event and I went all by myself. I didn't have anyone there with me. There was many people, because it was a massive exhibition full of loads of people in the food industry, and I didn't really know where to go, who to talk to, blah blah blah. And I went to one talk where there were people that could help me within my career, and I thought, I don't really want to speak to anyone today. I don't want to speak to anyone. I don't want to speak to anyone. I'm not going to do it. You know what? Today's fine. I don't need to do that. I'm going to just watch the talk and go, and it's going to be fine. Like, I can do it another day. And that's a lot of the time what anxiety will try to tell you. It will tell you, do it another day, protect yourself, keep yourself safe. But let me tell you something, that's not keeping you safe. That's actually just enforcing this thinking style, where that by if you do this thing, you will keep yourself safe. So if you're teaching yourself that by doing that, you're keeping yourself safe, of course you're going to keep doing it. So we need to unlearn these behaviors. And when I say unlearn, I do not mean that you're going to learn it and then it's never going to come back. It might come back. You might learn it one time and then teach yourself this and go through some good periods, and then you'll go back into a period where you do feel quite inwards. Maybe you're not around people enough, or maybe you had a bad social experience, so that made you not want to be around people again, or blah blah blah. Back to the story. I was telling myself that I could not speak to this one woman who I thought, you know what, she works in the company that I use the software for my nutrition business, and that would be really great if I could go and speak to her. And there's another woman who has her own business, and I want to start my own business. So two people that are kind of like related to what I want to do. So I forced myself to go over there, and when I'm on my way there, I'm feeling anxiety. I'm telling myself, oh, what are you doing? What if you say something silly? And I just went for it. And one thing I will say is ask people questions. People like to talk about themselves. I went over and I said, you did really well in that talk, just to let you know, like, I really resonated with what you were saying. Really just like being open with them, because that's how I genuinely felt. Don't lie, just be open about how you feel to people. People like it when you express how you feel. So long story short, I went to these two women, one at a time, because I saw one was talking to one person, and then I just waited there patiently, jumped into the conversation, and I had a word with her for a bit, and I was just being very open. And I feel like people react well to people that are open. Now, that's not to say everyone will. Some people will not take it well, and when I say don't take it well, that just means that they're not for you. There's always a situation where you might do something that's very open and very nice. You might be approaching someone in a very open way, and they just they don't like it, they don't get it. Or maybe you come to someone and your way of presenting yourself they don't get, but that's not for you to change. This is where my next point comes in. So that was a great experience in this situation. I had two encounters with people where I felt confident. I felt like I could actually do it. After all the anxious thoughts that I had, I actually could do it. That's the crazy thing. Anxiety will lie to you. It will tell you that you can't do something when you actually can, and sometimes it could go amazing. But there will be other times, don't get it twisted, there will be times your anxiety will say, oh, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And then you go and do it and then it goes wrong. And then that's when your anxiety is going to say, oh, this is why we don't do those things. This is why we don't talk to those people. This is why we don't leave the house. This is why we don't put ourselves in these situations, because things always go wrong. And anxiety likes to look and build up all these experiences to try and back that point about how things always go wrong. Whereas let's look at it the other situation. When I went over to these women and I had a good experience, was anxiety right in that situation? No. Anxiety cannot tell the future. It's not a fortune teller. It's just some negative voice in your head. And sometimes it happens to be right and sometimes it happens to be wrong. But that does not actually mean anything. Actually, all it means is that you've just got some negative person next to you that can't tell the future, but sometimes it's just a coincidence that things go wrong. So don't believe everything they say and go ahead and do the thing anyway. If you have a bad experience, you choose to look at it like, oh, this is why I don't do these things. Now you know this information. I want you to remember that. Next time something awkward happens or you have an encounter where you don't feel confident about it and you're like, oh my gosh, why did this happen? Why did I do this? Blah, 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 blah. You tell yourself, you know what? That's okay. These things happen. What about that time when something went well? Try and flip it. Try and be like, oh, what about this? What about that encounter I had with that person? Or what about when I, just had a nice laugh with someone the other day that I don't really know that well, but it was actually a nice experience. What about that? So why are we always focusing on the negative things? Because you've conditioned yourself to think that way. So I want you to stop and actually think. Let me tell you another story now. In the same way that you might have an awkward encounter with someone or a bad social experience, now your anxiety is telling you, oh, this is why we don't do these things. And then you might go into the next situation and you might feel more awkward than usual, and then you might not show up the way that you want to show up, and then that affects the conversation again, and then it's just a cycle. This happens the other way, when you have a good experience, you will now go into the next situation feeling more confident because you will start to believe in yourself. Now let me give you an example. I went to Pilates recently and I got there and I felt so anxious when I got in the room. I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, I'm going to go by myself. I'm going to try out this free reformer class. It's going to be so good. I got in there and I just felt anxious. I was like, I actually just want to leave. My boyfriend dropped me off and I was like, I actually just want to leave, because I've not been around a lot of people recently because I've just been focusing on my business. I've been in cafes a lot, not really in groups with people, like just seeing people, sure, but not, doing group stuff. And I just wanted to go. And I was thinking negative thoughts like, oh, like I'm not supposed to be here, blah, blah, blah. Like intrusive thoughts about just like feeling anxious about myself and feeling insecure. But I said, you know what? I don't care. I don't care about this anxious feeling that's trying to prove to me that I'm not supposed to be here. And so everyone else had left the class and I was putting the cleaning stuff, because we have to clean down the equipment at the end of the class. And I said to the Pilates instructor, I said, you know what, just say it. And I said to the Pilates instructor, oh my God, I really enjoy your energy. Like, I think you are really good with the way you present yourself in the class. And I really love the way you teach, like your teaching style. Her face lit up. She was so happy. That was already one. I felt, okay, good. Like, I've done this. I've made someone feel good. That's already making me feel more confident and telling anxiety, no, we don't need to listen to you. Then I went outside and I saw another girl who came dressed in a cute outfit, just like me. We were both in cute outfits. So I was like, you know what, let me tell her, you look really cute. I love your outfit. And then when we were putting our shoes on, I saw her again. I said, oh, what's your name? Like, blah, blah, blah. We started talking about Pilates. We started having a conversation. It went from there. Then the Pilates instructor came back out. We were having a group conversation and it was just a really nice experience. But then I left that situation, right? And then I bumped into an old friend of mine who I used to hang out with. We weren't like super close, but we were friends in a group. And I saw her and I was really happy to see her. I was really like confident as well. I wasn't overthinking like, oh, like maybe she doesn't really like care, like blah, blah, blah. Because she wasn't as like excited as me, but I was in a good mood and I felt like I could just talk to her. And there was 3 of them and I had not really been speaking to them for years. And there's only one of me and I could just feel awkward, like, oh, I don't really know how to hold myself, because I was already in an anxious state earlier that day. But for some reason in this situation, I wasn't anxious because I'd already had a positive experience. So that's what I mean, where a positive experience can actually lead to another positive experience. But you also have to remember that even if it doesn't, you can always remember that you had a positive experience rather than think about the negative things, because there always are going to be negative things. Now, in this example, the girl, I tried to reconnect with her. She didn't want to reconnect. I tried to be like, oh, let's meet up, texting her afterwards, got her on Instagram. She didn't want to do that. And that's absolutely fine. Like, I don't need to, force anyone to try and rekindle a friendship. That's fine. Maybe she felt awkward. Maybe she's got social anxiety. I don't know. But either way, I can either look at that and be like, okay, this is why I don't do these things. See, look at you. You put yourself out there with this person and they didn't receive it well, or maybe they think you're too much, or I could just be like, okay, these things happen. What about Pilates before that? That was a nice social encounter. Let's not focus on that, like maybe how they might have seen it, or all these different scenarios. Let's just be like, cool, maybe they're just not feeling it, maybe they don't understand my energy, maybe they don't get it. Why should I change? I'm always going to be the person that even if I have a bad experience and, you know, people don't receive me well, people think, oh, that was a bit weird, I'm still going to always try and talk to people, because you need to put yourself out there to get the results that you want. And there are going to be times where it's going to be awkward. You're going to be left feeling like, oh, you know, maybe I shouldn't have made an effort there, or maybe I shouldn't have put myself out there like that. But there are also going to be times where you're going to think, maybe I should have done something instead of just sitting there and doing nothing. And I understand anxiety and I understand how much it can take over, but you also need to understand that it's not your master. You don't have to listen to it. I understand the feeling. The feeling is so deep inside your chest, in your body. I get it in my chest, I get it in my arms, I get it in my legs, and I get this feeling of just, I cannot do this, I can't do this. But then when I force myself, and sometimes it goes really well, I feel amazing, and sometimes I force myself and it doesn't go well. But you also need to understand, you don't always have to force everything. And when I say force, I don't mean force yourself in a way that feels inauthentic. If you feel like if you weren't anxious you would want to speak right now, then speak. That's the way to know if you should be speaking. But if you just feel like, oh, I'm anxious and I don't really want to speak right now, but the way to know if it's just anxiety that's making you not want to speak is to really think about, if you were with someone that you felt comfortable with right now, would you speak? And if the answer is yes, and you feel like you have something to give to the conversation, they're talking about something that, you know, you might want to speak on if you were with someone you were comfortable with, then speak and use your voice, and just try to give something to the conversation. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, things will go awkward, but you're trying, and that's the most important thing. You're proving to yourself that you don't need to listen to this voice in your head, this anxiety. And the more and more you do it, the more you'll actually be amazed at the opportunities that come your way, because I've made friends from this. When I met my friends from university, I went over to them because I was left on my own from this boy that I was hanging out with, and he had gone and saw someone that he knew from school. So I was just left there. I'd like made a friend and he's left now, and I'm just there by myself, and I'm like, who do I talk to? I'm feeling anxious. But they would never have known that from the way that I went over there. And I just said, oh hi, like I'm just standing here and I don't really know who to talk to, like what course are you guys on? And those two girls happened to be on my course. What's the chances? All the people around me, we were all on different courses. It was just the induction day. They were on my course, and two of them are my close friends now. 5 years later, I think it's like 6 years later, we're still friends. I went on holiday with one of them. The other one, she's still my close friend for years. Like, it's crazy what just going up to people. And my friend said to me, you know, I thought you were a bit much at first. I really learned to love you. Like, I thought you were so cool. Like, you were so extroverted. And let me tell you, was I feeling extroverted? No. But I just put myself out there. And when I say that, you don't have to be this extroverted, flamboyant character. You can be whatever you are. Whatever you are is enough. So remind yourself of that as well. If you come into a situation and you feel like, oh, I could have done better. No, just say, I was enough. I was fine. That was exactly what I was, and that's fine. If you went into a situation and you didn't feel like, you know, you were exactly what you wanted to be, or you weren't the way that you wanted to hold yourself, it's fine to have aspirations of how you want to be in this life, but you also need to be present and understand that sometimes we're not perfect, and that's okay. You don't have to have this big thing of how you have to be. You don't have to force it. When I say force it or fake it, when I use these words, I don't mean it in the way that it sounds, where it's like I said, if you want to speak and you felt like you could speak, if you were with someone comfortable, then go ahead and speak. So that's all I'm going to say for today. Subscribe to this channel because I post weekly long form videos and daily shorts, and this is about becoming the best version of ourselves in a way that actually works. I have done all of this. I used to be a lazy person. I used to be more insecure than this. I definitely still have insecure days, but I have a lot more self-belief, and I can put myself out there online now, and I can give this advice because I genuinely can back myself up and say that I believe in it, and it's not just about views or any of that stuff. So please follow this channel and we're in this together. Just because this is a new page does not mean I'm not speaking facts. Welcome to Waves Unleashed, and I've just unleashed some waves on you.